Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. So, millions of people, they celebrate the Japanese summer festival of Obon every single year.
All right. Yeah, it's a massive event.
It really is. And if you've seen it or been part of it, people visit family graves, they light incense, and you always hear that low, rhythmic chanting of Buddhist sutras.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you look at it, if you experience it firsthand, it just feels like this deeply solemn, purely Buddhist tradition.
Oh, 100%. It totally feels that way. But, well, what if I told you that beneath the monks and the temple bells, Obon isn't originally Buddhist at all?
Wait, really? Not Buddhist?
Not at all. What if I told you it is actually a millennia-old paleo-faith?
Yeah.
And it was designed specifically to contain spiritual biohazards.
Okay, spiritual biohazards. That is, wow. That completely shatters the serene, incense-filled image we're also used to.
Yeah, I know, right? We really like our traditions to be neat and easily categorized.
Yeah,
But when you bypass those modern aesthetics and really dig into the foundational folklore of Japan, you uncover this historical landscape that is, well, incredibly wild. It's highly practical, and it was driven entirely by ancient survival.
And honestly, that is exactly our mission for today's deep dive. We are looking at this fascinating stack of folklore research.
Yeah, some incredible sources today.
We're anchored by the foundational works of legendary Japanese scholars, people like Yanagita Kunio and Gorai Shigeru.
The heavy hitters of Japanese folklore.
Exactly. And we are going to tear down the modern facade of Obon to reveal how the festival you see today was originally a pre-Buddhist tradition called Tama-matsuri, or the Festival of Spirits.
Right. We'll explore how this original festival was rooted entirely in agriculture and mountain worship.
Which is wild to think about.
It is. And perhaps the most fascinating part is seeing how Buddhism was later imported into Japan. Not just as like a philosophical religion, but essentially as an advanced piece of technology.
Technology.
Yeah, technology meant to pacify highly dangerous ghosts.
Okay, I am so ready for this. But to get there, I mean, we really have to strip away centuries of assumptions, right?
We do. We have to look at what the ancient Japanese actually believed happened the moment a person died.
Right, because if you follow traditional Buddhist thought, the ultimate goal after death is reaching the Pure Land. That distant, ethereal paradise that's just far removed from our physical world.
Exactly. But the ancient Japanese had a completely different, highly localized concept. It was known as Sanchu Takai-kan, which translates to the mountain otherworld.
The mountain otherworld.
Right. So they didn't believe souls journey to some unreachable cosmos. They believed the spirits of the dead went directly into the local mountains.
Like the actual mountains near them.
Literally the very peaks hovering right above their own villages.
Oh, wow. Which, I mean, that makes so much sense when you think about the physical geography of Japan. It is a deeply mountainous country.
Oh, entirely.
Arable land is incredibly scarce, so these ancient farming villages were usually huddled right at the base of a mountain.
Right? You're right there in the valley.
Yeah, you're farming in the valley, and you can literally look up at the geographic location where your ancestors are supposedly residing. The afterlife wasn't, up in the sky. It was just at a higher elevation.
Just a hike away, really.
Oh.
And consider that geography for a second. Water flows down from the mountain to irrigate the rice paddies.
Right.
Therefore, life itself flows
Yeah.
from the mountain. So because the ancestors were geographically so close, they were deeply entwined with the daily survival of the village.
That's a huge connection.
It is. Now, Yanagita Kunio actually discovered the mechanics of this not by reading ancient temple scrolls, but by traveling to these isolated rural mountain villages.
Oh, before modernization wiped out their oral traditions.
Exactly. And he noticed this fascinating mechanic regarding the ancient lunar calendar. The ancients, they effectively split the year in half.
Okay, so you have the new year in January, and then this mirror image period in July, which is when the lunar Obon falls, right?
Yeah. Yes, precisely. Obon was originally a folkloric repetition of the New Year's Tama-matsuri.
Okay.
It was a massive agricultural ritual tied to the sun, the water, and the turning of the seasons.
So not about mourning at all?
No, the entire purpose was to honor and invoke these mountain spirits because they were believed to be the literal protectors of the crops.
I love this setup so much. It sounds less like a religious holiday and, well, more like a mid-year performance review.
A performance review. That's actually a great way to put it.
Right. The ancestors are essentially the upper management residing in the high-rise office, the mountain.
Yeah, corner office with a view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In January, you set the goals for the year. Then in July, you have to throw this massive repetition festival to welcome management down to the factory floor.
To make sure the harvest is still on track.
Yeah, and that they are still blessing the water.
It was a transaction of respect for agricultural survival. But, I mean, they couldn't just hope management would show up. They needed a physical mechanism to bring them down.
Okay, wait, is this where the famous Obon cucumber horses come in?
Yeah.
Because anyone who knows Obon knows those little horses made out of cucumbers and chopsticks sitting on Buddhist altars.
Yes, those are the Shoryo-uma. Today, they are iconic symbols of Buddhist altars. But originally, they had nothing to do with Buddhism at all.
Wait, really? Nothing.
Nothing. Long before the new religion arrived, these effigies were practical tools. The villagers needed a physical vessel, a literal vehicle, to guide the good agricultural spirits down.
Ah.
They called these good spirits the Seirei, and they needed to guide them down from the Sanshu Takaikan into the village.
So they didn't just, like, place them on a table inside the house?
No. The physical ritual was much more boundary-focused. They would construct these horses out of summer vegetables and straw and physically place them at the borders of the village.
At the borders?
Yeah, first they would point them inwards to guide the Seirei into the community to bless the crops. And then later, they would turn them around, pointed them outwards to guide the spirits back to the mountain.
So they are actively, physically inviting these spirits down from the mountain. But, I mean, why go to such elaborate, highly structured lengths? Why build the vessels, throw the massive festivals, do all the repetition?
Because failing to welcome them properly wasn't just disrespectful, it was catastrophic.
Catastrophic.
Completely. And this introduces the core spiritual mechanism of ancient Japan. It's the concept of the Aramitama, or raging spirits.
Raging spirits. So we aren't just dealing with benevolent upper management anymore.
Not at all. In the ancient Japanese worldview, when people die, especially if they die violently, unhappily, or without the proper mourning rites, they don't just gently fade away.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, their souls become Aramitama, or onryo, vengeful ghosts. Because they hold grudges or intense earthly attachments, their energy is violently unstable. They lack the spiritual peace to settle into the mountain.
Which means they wander.
Yeah.
And the sources point out that the ancients blamed these wandering, unstable spirits for almost every natural disaster, right? I mean, a drought wasn't just a meteorological event. It was an Aramitama.
Right.
A typhoon wiping out the rice paddies. An Aramitama.
Yes. Yanagita Kunio's texts even detail how plagues were attributed to them. There was a folk deity known as the Bo, or Bu, which was essentially a spiritual personification of typhoid.
Typhoid. Wow.
Yeah, epidemics would sweep through these vulnerable farming villages, and the people viewed the disease, the famine, the extreme weather as the physical manifestation of spiritual rage.
Man, this completely changes the tone of the festival. I mean, the original Obon wasn't a sweet, nostalgic family reunion with the dearly departed.
Not at all.
It was a high-stakes hazard containment protocol.
That is exactly what it was.
They were literally managing spiritual biohazards. If you don't do the rituals perfectly, the spiritual radiation, the Aramitama, is going to leak out and destroy your entire town.
Right, and that hazard containment required an intense systematic process called Chinkan, which means pacification.
Okay, Chinkan.
Think of it like spiritual thermodynamics. An Aramitama is boiling over with rage, right? The Chinkan rituals, the offerings, the specific songs, the dances, they act as a coolant.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Through Chinkan, a terrifying Aramitama is slowly appeased and elevated. It cools down and transforms into an Ijimitama, a peaceful soul.
Okay, and if you keep cooling it down, like keep pacifying it year after year.
Eventually, with enough time and continuous pacification, it becomes a Seirei.
A Seirei.
Yeah, a protective ancestor soul. That is the benevolent spirit that ultimately helps your crops grow.
Okay, so we have this deeply indigenous, highly effective system. The ancient Japanese are using Sanshu Takaikan cosmology. They are building cucumber horses to transport the Seirei, and they are performing Chinkan pacification protocols to contain the Aramitama.
Exactly. They had a whole system.
So, given all of that existing infrastructure, how on earth did Buddhism manage to take over the narrative so completely? Did they just, like, force the locals to convert?
Actually, no. To see how that takeover happened without force, we have to look at a very specific piece of Buddhist scripture brought over from the continent. It's called the Urabon.
Okay, the Urabon.
This scripture tells the legend of Mokuren, or Maudgaliana, who was one of the Buddha's greatest disciples.
Oh, right, the story of Mokurin trying to save his mother.
Yes, so the legend states that Mokurin, while meditating, had a vision of his deceased mother. But she wasn't residing in a peaceful mountain overworld.
She was somewhere else.
She was trapped in the hell of starvation. She'd become a hungry ghost, completely emaciated. And the text is highly specific about the mechanics of her torture.
How so?
Every time she tried to put food into her mouth, it would instantly burst into flames.
Oh, wow. That is a deeply terrifying image.
It is.
And it perfectly mirrors the ancient Japanese fear of famine and drought that we just talked about.
Exactly. It resonates on a primal survival level. So Mukurnan is distraught, right? He goes to the Buddha and begs for a way to save her.
Right.
The Buddha gives him a very specific instruction. On July 15th, which marked the end of the monks' rainy season retreat, Mukurnan must offer delicious food to the monks.
Okay.
By performing this act of selfless giving, the merit generated by that action would be transferred to his mother, pulling her out of hell.
Ah, so he feeds the monks, generates positive karma, and uses that karma like a rescue rope.
Exactly. And this introduces two massive Buddhist concepts to Japan. The first is eiko, which is the mechanism of merit transfer.
Eiko.
You can think of it like an incredibly favorable spiritual exchange rate. You perform a good deed in the physical world, and the karma pays off a spiritual debt in the underworld.
That's a great deal.
It really is. Right. The second concept is Segaki, which is the specific ritual of feeding hungry ghosts.
But wait, how did the Japanese locals actually react to this? Because they already had their Tama-matsuri. Did they care about the philosophical enlightenment part of Buddhism, or did they just want the utility?
To the rural farmers,
Yeah.
philosophical enlightenment was a luxury, survival was the priority.
Oh, for sure.
They didn't abandon their old beliefs for a second. Instead, they looked at these new Buddhist concepts of eiko and segaki, and they recognized them as highly advanced, imported pacification technology.
Oh, I see where this is going. If their indigenous Shinkan rituals were like using hand tools to pacify an Aramitama, Buddhism showed up with power tools.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Mm.
The locals realized that by chanting these incredibly complex foreign sutras and utilizing this eiko merit transfer system, they could perform Shinkan on a terrifying Aramitama much faster and more efficiently.
Wow.
Buddhism wasn't a replacement for their faith. It was a heavy-duty industrial upgrade for their existing spiritual hazard management.
So chanting sutras was just a better containment protocol for the biohazards?
Precisely. And this seamless, brilliant blending of indigenous spirit appeasement with Buddhist rituals created something called Shinbutsu-Shugo, the syncretism of Shinto and Buddhism.
Shinbutsu-Shugo?
Yeah. The merger was so complete that the Japanese even took the terrifying imagery of Buddhist demons, like the Resetsu, and overlaid it onto their own indigenous protective ancestral mountain spirits, the Oni.
Oh, that's fascinating.
They took the most effective parts of both systems to ensure maximum survival.
Okay, so knowing that this entire festival is essentially a highly advanced syncretic system for managing raging spirits, how do we actually see this hazard management operating in the physical traditions of Obon today?
We see it most dramatically in how Obon manipulates the physical elements, specifically the highly structured use of water and fire.
Water and fire.
Let's look at the water rituals first, because before you can safely welcome your good, pacified ancestors down from the mountain, you face a massive logistical problem.
What's that?
You have to clear the area of the Muon Botoke.
The Muon Botoke? Oh, the unconnected spirits. These are the wandering ghosts who have no families to perform Shinkan for them.
Exactly. Because no one is pacifying them, they remain jealous, dangerous, and they hover around the village boundaries.
Yikes.
This is the origin of Seirei-nagashi, the famous Obon practice of launching spirit ships or lanterns into the water.
Wait, really? Because if you watch videos of Seirei-nagashi today, it looks incredibly poetic, like thousands of glowing lanterns gently floating down a dark river toward the ocean.
It is beautiful now. But historically, this was a highly practical, almost aggressive ritual of sweeping away evil spirits.
Aggressive.
Yeah, the water was a flushing mechanism. Villagers would physically load offerings and effigies of these dangerous, unconnected spirits onto boats and use the flowing river to forcibly evict them from the village bounds before the good ancestors arrived.
Wait, so if water is used as a flushing mechanism to evict the wandering ghosts, what is the fire for?
The fire.
Because Obon is equally famous for its massive fires. Are the bonfires acting like a barrier to keep those bad spirits from coming back?
That brings up the dual, highly vital function of fire. The most famous example is the Gozan no Okuribi, the awe-inspiring bonfires lit on the mountains surrounding Kyoto.
Oh, I've seen pictures of those.
We are talking about massive characters like the kanji for great, burning so brightly on the mountainside that they illuminate the entire city.
It's incredible.
Families also light smaller household muke-ibi, which are welcoming fires, and okuribi, which are send-off fires. Now, remember the cosmology of the Sanshu Takaikan? The mountain otherworld.
Right. The ancestors live up in the local mountains, so they need a way to navigate down to the village and back up again.
Yes. These fires were ancient folk methods designed to light the path. They guide the Seirei safely down to the altars and then back to the mountain otherworld.
Okay, that makes sense.
But just as you deduced, fire is also a spiritual barrier. It illuminates the runway for the good spirits while simultaneously deterring any lingering Aramitama from following them into the homes or causing mischief in the dark.
So if we put this all together, the fire and the water during Obon are essentially operating as ancient spiritual border control.
They are actively defining the boundaries of safety.
That is so cool. The water is the deportation mechanism flushing the dangerous, unconnected elements out of the territory. And the fire is the VIP escort service, providing a safely illuminated runway to guide the honored ancestors, the management, back to their mountain VIP lounge after they've inspected the crops.
All of which is wrapped up in the advanced pacification technology of Buddhist sutras to ensure the entire process runs smoothly, without anyone turning into a raging typhoon deity.
It is absolutely incredible how layered this is. We look at a cucumber horse or a floating lantern today and just think, what a lovely, peaceful Buddhist tradition.
But the modern Obon is actually a beautiful, syncretic echo of ancient rage management.
Rage management.
The primal fear of the untamed natural world, the sheer desperation for a good harvest, the need to systematically process the trauma of death, all of it was layered, generation by generation, into the rituals you see today.
So the next time you, the listener, see a cute little cucumber horse sitting on an altar, or you watch a breathtakingly beautiful lantern float down a river in the summer, you'll know the secret.
You really will.
You aren't just looking at a simple Buddhist rite. You are looking at a highly evolved, millennia-old paleo-faith technology engineered to appease raging mountain gods and prevent spiritual biohazards.
It completely changes the way you look at the landscape of Japanese traditions. I mean, knowledge really is most valuable when you can see the hidden mechanics behind the everyday world.
It really is, and it leaves me with one final provocative thought to mull over. For thousands of years, our ancestors needed these incredibly elaborate rituals, bonfires on mountains, complex sutras, cucumber horses, floating ships, just to pacify the ghosts of the past and keep the Aramitama from destroying their world. But think about today. Today, we leave behind a completely different kind of ghost. We leave behind a massive, eternal digital footprint.
Oh, wow.
Videos, texts, social media profiles, and voice notes that just linger forever in the cloud. When we're gone, how will future generations perform Shinkan on our digital Aramitama?
Yeah.
Will our descendants need to invent a completely new kind of pacification technology to soothe our raging ghosts in the internet age? It makes you wonder what the digital Obon of the year 3000 will look like.
Finally, we have a brief apology and a request. Here at AI Buddhism University, we try our best to minimize the mispronunciation of complex Buddhist terminology. But due to the limitations of AI technology, some occasional errors might slip through. Please forgive us. If you have any advice on how to improve the AI's pronunciation, we would love to borrow your wisdom, so please let us know in the comments. We will continue to cover fascinating topics like biographies of great monks, sutra explanations, and the hidden history of Buddhism. So we are also waiting for your topic requests in the comments. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. We'll see you in the next explanation. Thank you for listening.